at us doing a thing together.
Look at us doing a thing. Will there be a party about it? If there's a party about it, tag us in, baby. Whatever you need.
Celebrate.
Because that's the thing we'll do. We will celebrate you. I'm anti-bill for sure.
Anti-bill for sure. 110% of the time, it works every time. Hey, y'all. Welcome to this episode of Hustling with Harges. I'm Courtney, a theater maker, sewist, knitter, nonprofit strategist, and certified TV nerd. I'm here with my co-creator and real-life sibling.
What's good, everybody? I'm Tyrone, motion designer, 3D artist, animator, self-proclaimed king of the nerds, and card-carrying field snob. And yes, I'm the younger sibling, which means I bring the innovation and the petty. This podcast is our creative living room, a space for deep convos, pop culture mess, and entrepreneurial chaos, and sibling joy.
Whether you're a maker, a dreamer, a burnt-out artist, or just nosy, this show is for you. Let's build something dope together.
So pull up, subscribe, text your cousin, and let's get into Hustling with Harges. Courtney, we are back with another episode.
Yes, we are. Episode 2, baby.
Episode
making it work.
2, making it work, figuring it out.
Yeah. So, Tyrone, just how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really good. I turned 35 on Friday.
What? Old.
As I call it, this is my 35 year. But I'm good. I'm good. I had a good birthday. It was very well needed.
Oh, good. Yay support. Yay birthdays.
Yay support. Yay birthdays. How about you?
I am also doing well. It was a nice weekend. I got to see a movie that we are going to spend a lot more time talking about. And got to hang out with some friends. It was a really nice, mellow, like deeply connected weekend. Good community.
I love that, deeply connected.
Yeah, I just got to be with people, which was
done. Well done. Yeah. We are going to start with our first segment, The Media That Made Us. Welcome to Media That Made Us, where we crack open the vault of TV shows, video games, comics, movies, and albums that shaped our brains and broke our hearts. From Saturday morning cartoons to late night mixtapes, these are the cultural cornerstones that built the Harges you see today. And today's Media That Made Us is Sinners, okay?
Absolutely.
It's Sinners. It's always going to be Sinners. It's going to be Sinners forever.
Sinners. And yes, that just came out. Yes, it is just now on streaming. We know all of that.
We know all of that.
No, it is fundamentally changed who I am as a person. I think it is. Sinners was so good. And it's at this point we're going to spend the next however long talking about Sinners with some deep dive analysis and our reflections. This will not be a spoiler-free discussion.
No.
So please go to the next segment if you're not interested. We'll be sure to include some timestamps for you. So know that we're about to spoil the shit out of this awesome movie.
We're about to spoil the shit out of this movie. Hey, cousins, we're about to dive into spoiler territory for Sinners. If you haven't seen it yet and want to keep the twist intact, skip ahead to 38:33 to keep your ears spoiler-free. We'll meet you on the other side. It's so good. It's so good. It's completely changed who I am as a filmmaker and as like a creative.
Nice.
It's shot beautifully. Okay, let me pull back a little bit. We have some questions. What is your takeaway from
Right. So first, we loved it. Second, we didn't see it together. So to our listeners, it's worth it knowing that we haven't gotten to talk to each other about this fully outside of this space.
Yes.
So we're very excited to have this conversation. And the last thing is that like Ryan Coogler's slander just like will not be tolerated.
Will not be tolerated.
I understand nobody is above reproach. We can offer critique. We can do all of that stuff. And all that is true. Yeah. And Ryan Coogler could do no wrong. every choice he made was the correct one.
Was the correct choice.
And that's just
what it is. And if Ryan Coogler doesn't have siblings, guess what? He got 2 more.
He got him. We in there. He is in the Harge pack. We are here.
Talk about Ryan in front of me, we're gonna have a problem.
So before we jump into takeaways, overall impression is it's a beautiful film that is about so much more than vampires.
The movie, even if vampires weren't in the movie, it would still be a wonderful, beautiful masterpiece.
Absolutely. But it is a deep meditation, which I know sounds so cheesy, but it is a meditation on ownership, on who you allow to have access to your story, on who you allow to have access to your art, on what it means to let people in to your space, right? And one of my strong takeaways around the message is that fellowship means something different to everyone. And the villains, who are very clearly villains, let me be clear, they are not complicated villains. They are not anti-hero situations like villainy. And they believed that they were doing something positive. And I think that was amazing.
Yeah.
Because they were destructive and clearly violent, because vampires. And hostile. And they still thought they were doing something helpful.
Yeah.
And I think as a metaphor for how cultural appropriation works, as a metaphor for extractive capitalism, as a metaphor for artistic compromise, I think it was amazing the fact that they were offering something they thought was good. I also think the fact that the Irish folk music was beautiful was important. It was dissonant. Yes. I mean, and also music direction, just magic.
What?
But I think there is something to be said about how the things they were offering were clearly negative and also not inherently negative. Like the music was not uninviting.
Yeah. It was
right.
Extremely inviting.
Right. The music was well played. Like they were musicians and monsters. Yeah. And what they had to trade for that art, what they had to the idea of absorbing the storytellers into this hive mind, into this historical Borg, is
historical Borg. Fantastic.
Is both terrifying and amazing.
Yes.
Because not every villain you encounter says villainous things. Some of them do, but they at no point did they offer violence and destruction. That's not what they said that they were giving you. They made it a point to say kindness, fellowship, love,
family.
They said all of that thing while they were actively destroying all of those things.
Yes.
I need people to understand what that looks like in real life.
The explanation you just did of that is phenomenal. I was like, oh, this is Courtney very smart, y'all.
We are very smart together.
But it's exactly what it is. It's this sense of, like how you said, the idea of who you are inviting into your space, into your community, into your life in any way, the conversations you have, that even the language barriers that come with it, like when we're gonna get deeper, but when Stack or Smoke is like y'all clan, and Rennick, being Irish, has to kind of bounce. There's some mental gymnastics he's got to do to be like, we're not. Oh, you mean these? No, no, no. Like, yes, we're family, because that's what clan means. A very different thing to me.
And continued spoiler alert: they also were clan.
And two. It's gonna be more than just two. I have so many things I want to talk about this movie. There are moments where when you see one of the first shots you see is the Mississippi Delta sun just beaming onto the camera, but it makes 2 red eyes, which just in its a split second, it's like one of the first shots in the movie, and you're like, this, I mean, Ryan Coogler just knows how to make great movies. He's the combination of like movie and film.
Ryan Coogler makes films and also appreciates audiences. He remembers that audiences show up to these things. Somebody has to watch this thing that you make.
Absolutely.
And a lot of filmmakers get so caught up in what they've made that they don't always remember that somebody has to like watch your 4.5 hour silent meditation on something, you know? Like he's so good at understanding that the movie experience, the film experience is a conversation between filmmaker and audience. And I don't think he ever actually talks down to his audience. Like he makes things accessible, complex ideas without dumbing them down. He just actually walks you through the work. He walks you through his storytelling, and it's
phenomenal. Everybody in this movie is good.
Everyone.
Everybody. Like everybody in this movie is good. Delroy Lindo as Delta Slim is probably my favorite character in the movie. I loved him as Delta Slim. Him just he said, "Yeah, y'all got money today. Do y'all have money next week? Cause they gonna pay me. They've been paying me every Saturday
for 10 years.
For 10 years,
and will pay me for 10 years more.
But y'all got money today."
Even his very clear, intentionally named alcoholism as a thing that everybody also understood when he's telling the story of his time in the chain gang. He's telling I mean, so many powerful stories, but telling the story about like what happened to him. Nobody is like, why are you drinking and or stop drinking and or get your life. Nobody's saying that.
No.
Everybody has a very clear understanding of what this man has been through, of why he is doing the things he's doing. And that was also very powerful. Just to be like, we get you. We receive you.
I think the thing that's most powerful to me is not only the use of like the homage to blues music and music in general, the sound design in this movie is so good. When Slim is telling this story in a car and you hear it being played out in the background, I'm like, I'm just in tears 80% of this movie.
Well, that the other like metaphor that is so powerful, and it's not even metaphor, it's just storytelling or whatever you want to call it, is the layering. Is that we are simultaneously who we are in the moment, the things that have happened to us, and the things that we could be. Like, so he's, Delta Slim's telling that story and is hearing it, but also like in driving past the members who were currently on the chain gang, made it a point to slow down and say heads up. So he recognizes, not only he remembers who he was, who that person was, he recognizes these are all people who were him, who are him, right? And even I remember it was so powerful for him to yell, for the person to react, and then for you just to hear the shot. And so you don't, was it a warning shot? Did somebody
get shit? Yeah,
you don't know. And that leads me to another thing outside of the layers, but I thought it was one of the most accurate depictions of living under the constant threat of racism without it informing everything you do. So many movies, when they're trying to talk about Jim Crow South, sharecropping, slavery, or enslavement even, they either minimize it, so you either get like Gone with the Wind, where it's just like a thing, where it's like it's just fine, but no, nothing really different, right? Or you get I wish I could, I'm sure there are other movies that just can't come to me right now, but you get a movie where it's like the only thing anybody's talking about all the time, right? Where and again, I'm not saying that it wasn't a very persistent, constant thing. And also people manage to have relationships, manage to live their lives, manage to just kind of have an everyday existence. Like there was mundanity in The Terror. But it could be mundane. You could have your everyday thing, and transitioning a little bit into our favorite moment, like the tracking shot or the oneer from with the two grocery stores was an amazing example.
So great.
Where like the reality was being able to have like these two grocery stores in the center of town, where it's like that was the white side, this was the black side.
Yeah.
Having a Delta Chinese family able to cross both of those spaces where you see the grocery stores across from each other with the daughter going back and forth. I thought that was just such a beautiful thing where it's like the threat was very real. It was a very there was a clear line of existence across those spaces, but it also they were still able to do their business. They were still able to like exist in a way where they didn't have to talk about the white people until they had to talk about the white people. Right? There wasn't the whole thing. It wasn't the center of their existence. It wasn't about being in relationship to white people. It was really about how can we live our lives and do the things that mean something to us with this persistent threat that we are engaged with, but can ignore until we can't ignore it.
Yeah, exactly. The looming threat of white supremacy being the like main villain is wild to me. And it's done perfectly. And the I mean, to like a favorite part, which there are too many to count, is at the end when the Klan still shows up in the morning. Like, regardless of what happened prior, these motherfuckers were showing up anyway.
That was their whole plan.
That was the whole plan. We was gonna come here anyway.
and outside of the violence of the Klan, which very real, it was also theft. Like capitalism, the plan was not only to take their money for buying the thing, but buying the mill. They wanted part of the reason why they waited till it was open for a day is because they wanted all of the money that they took in that night. Because they could. There are a lot of times they could have executed the violence. Like, no,
we're gonna wait for the party
to pop. We want this party to go.
Yeah, and then we'll come in and we'll take them all.
Like we want, and so now we'll get all the money they made.
Plus our money.
right. Plus the money they used to buy it.
Yeah.
And any of that plantation
those like plantation scripts.
Yeah. That they got. We'll get all of that too.
We'll get all of that.
Attaching the violence, which was clearly racially motivated and all of that, also to the capitalist extraction. Again, that really feels like it's like, no, we aren't just here to murder these people because we want to do that. Because that's the plan.
That's the plan.
We're going to do that.
We're also going to take all their money.
But we also are here to take the thing that they've built. Again, to be a movie about vampires that actually isn't about vampires at all. Where it really is about, again, who is extracting from your creative story? Who are you giving access? And what are the terms of that access? Are you clear about what you were giving them? Are you clear about what they want from you?
I'm thinking about that for myself now. I'm like,
right.
Well, shit. Wait a minute.
Right. Well, because again, not everybody who shows up offering fellowship and good songs is actually trying to.
Not all skin folk is kinfolk. Okay.
Not all skin folk is kinfolk, and not everybody who wants to fellowship with you means you kindness. Like, because I mean, Remix's whole thing around wanting access to the stories. Now, you're the one who can tell the truth, and I want that for me. I want access to the gift that is yours, and I do not care how I get it.
I see Remick and the family from Get Out to have very similar motivations of just being like, you have this talent that I cannot access, and I'm going to do everything in my power to access this talent, especially if that means I get to destroy you in the process.
Right. That is a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature, not a bug. If I get to destroy you in the process, icing. Okay.
Icing. Winning.
Icing. I'm super winning.
Because I want what you've made.
I want what you've made and cultivated or have been given freely, and I would like to take that with force as violently as possible.
Right, because it should be mine.
It should be mine. How dare you be given this talent? How dare you be great in my face? The audacity. I would also like to discuss the elevated position of women in this movie. I think the women are truly the backbone of this film.
and or life in general.
Come on now, talk about it. Talk about it. That's not even, I'm not even gonna play like that. Specifically Black women. So, because Annie said, these aren't haints, these are vampires. And everybody was like, 100%. Nobody was like, Miss Annie said it, that's what we doing then.
That's what she said. She the one.
She the one.
Oh, I loved so much about that. And I love what you're saying, because the role women played as both harbingers, as protectors, as just complex, interesting characters.
They weren't just like, as a horror fan, there is no final girl, which is amazing to
Although
me.
you could argue,
I mean,
that Sammy is the final girl.
Sammy is the final girl.
He's not, but he is. Yes.
But he is, and to put a pin in what we were just talking about, I love the fact that this is not Smoke and Stack's story. This is Sammy's story. Yeah. and Smoke and Stack we're just here for the ride. But like the way the trailer is set up, the way the marketing is set up, you 100% are like, this is the story of Smoke and Stack. And then you get there and you don't see Smoke and Stack for like 10 minutes. like we start the movie at the end. Amazing. For all of you who don't like horror movies, we get a lot of jump scares out the way in the first 10 minutes.
Just so people remember, it is still a horror movie. I feel like that was as a certified scaredy cat. I very much, they were like, they don't want you to get comfortable. You need to start a little scared first, and then we're going to ease you into the story. We're going to give you some narrative, but I want you to still remember it's a horror film. And especially when shit gets wild toward the end, you're not surprised. I was perfectly primed for it. Because I think, had we not had jump scares in the beginning, you would have forgotten what type of movie you were watching. And then I would have spent the last third just hidden under a blanket, just so scared. But I was prepared. I was primed. I was like, okay, I got it. I see what's happening here.
And I wish more horror movies did that. Like, if more horror movies used horror as a vessel for storytelling instead of a genre. This is going to get a lot of hate from the horror fans. I think horror movies would be better. I think if and this is something we'll talk about in our next segment. There is a Guillermo del Toro led Oscar Isaac Frankenstein movie coming out, and that movie's going to be scary as fuck. I just want everybody to know right now. That movie's going to be super scary. It's going to be really good, and the creature design is going to be great. But I'm curious on what the story he is telling using horror as a vessel. Like how Marvel makes movies and we just happen to throw superheroes in them.
Right. Yes. Definitely the best Marvel or MCU movies are the ones that are a different genre of movie that includes superheroes.
Winter Soldier is...
It's a spy movie.
It's a spy movie. That's why Robert Redford's in it.
Right.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
What is something that surprised you about this movie? Sinners is what we're talking about, in case somebody has walked into the room.
Back to Sinners. No. What was I surprised by? That is a great question. I think I was surprised by how emotional the movie was for me.
Okay.
It just, I know a lot of people have talked about the music sequence, the dance sequence, the kind of being able to call forth both the past and the future. And I was crying before I understood what was happening, just witnessing that connection, that acknowledgement of the through line of dance and music as, I don't know, a space where kind of truth exists. Divine connection. There were tears. It was definitely why is my face wet? Oh.
Oh, because I'm deeply emotionally invested in this right now.
Right, because I'm moved in a way that I can't even quite name. And so I was so activated.
Yeah.
Just seeing all of that, this idea of experiencing through time, not even knowing fully what you're seeing, but tapping into that was so moving to me. I was just so invested in all of those people.
I loved that scene so much as a big film nerd. So it's the last scene they do. It's the last scene they shot. Because it's got to be. There's a million people on set. And we also are active, we really burned down a shack. Like there's a chunk, a section where there's like we're really playing in front of this burned down shack.
Right. That's
Which is
part of it.
awesome.
And I read there are like 3 cameras moving
Yeah.
simultaneously. Like
It's definitely the most difficult shot in the movie by a long shot. What surprised me was, yes, this feeling, but also me also having the same exact reaction to when Rennick is jigging outside. I'm like, oh, I still feel really connected to this in some way, which feels weird in some, like in the way that like I can't like explain. Weird is the only thing I can like feel right now, but like I was like, oh, I have the same gut reaction that I did when Sammy is playing Lie to Me, which is I love that the first person you see is fucking George Clinton. I love that it's George Clinton is the first person you see.
It's amazing. There's so many calls.
There's so many calls, and then the infusion of like Chinese inspiration, and like they're doing like forms. I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful.
There's so much. Well, in reading some of the IMDb and reading some of the things, like the idea that these truth tellers, people who can tap into the veil, right? Whose art can pierce the veil, don't just activate their histories, they activate your histories.
Yeah.
Like they activate the listener's history. And so that is, I think, a really powerful representation from Remick as the villain, is that clearly consumed a truth teller from that tradition. And part of why him having access to that power is so dangerous is it can activate anyone. It can activate the history. It pierces the veil for anyone. It doesn't discriminate in the sense of like, it's not only the Irish veil.
Yeah.
It's not only the black veil, not only the Chinese veil. It's the idea that like that thing that connects us, the spiritual, artistic, divine thing. Once anybody can access that, if you can open it, like it opens it for anybody, which informs why Remick wants Preacher Boy, because he's like, oh, you can do that. I need yours.
I need that, because you can not only can you like tap into the ancestors, you can bring them home, like because there's a line where Sammy and Rennick are doing the Lord's Prayer, and Rennick is like, those words always comforted me even though they're not mine. And like, as the horror fan history nerd I am, I was like, oh, you're ancient. Yes. You're so old, because you remember when the Christians took over Ireland. So saying that, I'm like, oh, you've been, and it's strictly only context from what we have. You've been alone for quite some time. Right. Because when we're introduced to Rennick, he's by himself on the run
from the Choctaw.
Who have whooped his ass. Okay, he had a black eye. They beat the hell out of him. I want to know what they do.
But they showed up, and I really appreciate it. They were like, we are trying to get him. We are trying to stop this. And then the white people were like, nope, he's with us. And they were like, all right, y'all got it. And the fuck out. They were like,
they got
you got one solid warning. Hey, but it's about to dark out.
And they didn't show up again.
No.
Which I loved.
They knew what was out there. They did their part. We are going to do our part until the sun goes down. We're going to try to stop this very real threat. But, I'm sure had there been like a phone tree, I'm sure they would have called somebody and been like, hey, but that's not what they had.
Not a phone tree.
They would have activated the WhatsApp to be like, hey, y'all, vampires are out there. We tried, but those clan folks on the edge of town, they got them. We had to, everybody stay inside. Hey, maybe don't do the juke tonight. Maybe
not tonight.
We can gather in the morning and we can come up with a plan.
And we'll figure it out.
To get it together. But I understand it's a Saturday night. I understand what y'all want to do. I'm just saying, we don't know, but they didn't have all that. And so they had to. They
were like, all right.
Had to peace out.
I appreciate my brother was like, I can only warn you once. Also, and this is me, you lucky I didn't come in here just off rip, shoot you dead in the chest. Because I know a vampire is in here. And I know what vampires do. And I
really tried to communicate with you effectively about
we could have just burned this house to the ground with everybody in it.
Also, Also, y'all got vultures. Y'all should
Do
check.
y'all not see these vultures?
I mean that.
Like, a thing that I didn't realize that I was going to be emotionally charged to was seeing the cotton fields. It looked like the sea. They were just, it was endless. And I was just, every time they would just drive down and I would just feel the weight and like the heat. And I'm just like, I would die. And then we get to my brother Cornbread, who was perfect when Smoke is like talking all crazy in front of his wife. And Cornbread just takes his thing off. He was like, all right, nigga, we gotta fight now.
Right. There's only so much.
There's only so much. I'm gonna let you talk to me, especially in front of my wife.
There's only so much that you can do here that I'm just gonna let pass. But also in our however comma, when she was like, but how much
But
money
how much money you talking about?
Right. And
Now.
that little look where like, hey, if it's enough money, he might be right. I might I might do all that disrespect.
There's just so much to talk about this movie. I have one last question. What is like a small throwaway detail that you really enjoyed? Which is because this movie is filled with them.
So many of them. There's so many things. But I will say that like Sower and me, just those costumes.
Shout out to Ruth Carter, man.
Always Ruth Carter. This is a Ruth Carter stan account. We just also can do no wrong.
Because it was amazing.
I love to detour a little bit to talking about Ruth Carter specifically. I love her consistent use of color coding that doesn't look cheesy, where she is so good at everything. But I don't think I think there was a period of time where like you could color code a character and it looked very like Super Mario Brothers, as somebody who loves
I was thinking very Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, right? Or like Power Rangers, where it's just like, oh, this is all they're going to wear, and they're gonna look like an animated character because the color code is so hard, right? But Ruth Carter makes these just really powerful distinctions visually in that she does color code the characters when it's necessary, right? And giving folks it's a color palette that feels so nuanced and informed by the character that you get they look like real people, but you also know who you're looking at. So putting Smoke and Stack in blue and red, having like the fedora versus the like page boy cap, having these subtle things.
I love that you brought up the fedora and the page boy cap, because it also shows you who they worked with while they were in Chicago.
Right. It shows you they're in different gangs. Right.
They're in different gangs, which is, of course, their fashion would assimilate to those who they would be around the most.
Right.
And you can't tell me as a sibling, especially as a twin, that we didn't swap some shit sometimes. Get some details on other things.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So like just using the fashion, but like knowing like it being a signifier both of which gang they worked for. But you also see how these two people, Smoke and Stack, are twins.
Yeah.
You see that they are different versions of they're two unique people, but who have the same upbringing, who are connected to each other. Because like something that I find challenging sometimes in the like twin trope is where they are so different, where you're like, I don't understand how, other than they have this deep codependent connection, I don't understand why these two people are in the same space, right? You don't quite get, I feel like the differences become so extreme where they play this like twin opposite situation that each character is so diametrically opposed to the other character that you're just like, I don't understand why these two people share space at all, other than the fact that they shared a womb. And you create this inevitability where you like have good twin, bad twin, where like the bad twin is gonna fuck it up somehow, and the good twin is gonna be the tragic character. And what I like about Smoke and Stack is they both had flaws, and the flaws were complementary, where like Smoke was so business driven and analytical and less people person. He was less a people person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't as
that,
friendly
like,
and gregarious. Right. And Stack was far more, he was clearly the smooth talker.
Yeah.
Clearly the far more like outgoing, but was definitely the more sensitive and or emotional, but it wasn't so extreme where it's like they both had a deep sensitive streak. We got to see like what they were like for the people they loved, right? They both are clearly very ambitious. They're both deeply connected to each other in a way that you got it. And so you understand how these are two different versions of real people, as opposed to being like one good twin who's all redeeming and all good, and one bad twin who's all impulsive and all negative. Because I knew one of them was going to break it somehow. But it wasn't until it happened that I knew which one it was going to be.
And I'm gonna sit here and I'm not gonna lie to you. If Mary's on top of me, I'm gonna be a vampire. Okay, that's just what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen.
I didn't know where the danger was going to come from. I didn't know who was it going to be. Was it going to be, because I was like, is it going to be Smoke and about this money? Like, is he going to let somebody in to get that? Yeah. Or is it going to be Stack? I figured it was going to be connected to Mary if it was Stack, but like, I couldn't figure out who was going to save the day and who was going to cause the problem. And that was awesome to me. It was just so good because they were so realized. I was like, I see how both of you could be the hero and how both of you could be the inciting incident.
The thing I really loved about this movie is, as a horror fan, the changing of vampire lore, of like, they don't have super speed. They're relatively stronger than other people, but not like I'm not picking you up and ripping you in half. You still had to scrap. Like,
right.
You still had to scrap. I loved that. I loved the thing I hate most about vampire movies specifically is the newborn problem. Okay, you get bit, now I gotta teach you all the rules, which takes days. But with this mind meld, hive mind thing, you instantly know the rules that I've curated and cultivated over the centuries I've been alive. We don't have to question. What's also really cool is that you don't have to fight the hunger. I had to fight the hunger. I don't have to fight the hunger anymore. So now you also get my discipline and my patience, because I'm not what most vampires, I feel like most vampire movies do, is they turn them into brutes. When they're predators, we stalk, we take our time. Sometimes it takes days for us to get a thing. We just happen to walk into a buffet.
We happened to walk into a buffet with a prize at the middle, like with the best meal that may possibly redeem us. So, we in here.
When they don't show you when Rennick and the three are playing and Mary goes outside to talk to them and she puts her gun out, does all these things and walks away. I love that Rennick just floats in the air. Like, that's all you need to know that it's done. And Mary comes back and you're like, absolutely not.
Right, nope, not let her in. I also love, to build on that moment, how casual she is about coming in. There wasn't any eerie music. She didn't float or whatever. She didn't do anything. She just walked in and was like, quit being silly, let me in.
Because for a second, you're like, well, maybe she didn't get got. Maybe he flies and, she turns around. Maybe she didn't.
But seeing her attitude beforehand, like seeing how she came in the first time, you're like, oh no, she's different, but she's not. Like, there's no way. Cornbread wasn't inept. There's no reason.
Cornbread was very good at his job.
There was no reason for him to think that she was a vampire.
This Mary, girl, get your ass in here.
Right. Other than the fact that she was a vampire.
She wasn't drooling yet. She had nothing. She still kept her very poised demeanor and was like, you gonna let me in or not?
And he was also kind of blocking the door.
He did not make a wrong choice. It just happened to be a wrong choice. Courtney, we could talk about this movie all episode.
If somebody at this point, even though it's been on streaming or whatever, has not seen it and they are on the fence, I'm not sure how you can be on the fence, but they might still be. What would you tell them? And we'll assume that they skipped all of the spoiler stuff. So non-spoilery, right? Let's say they're joining us again right now before we go into our next space. Welcome back. What would you tell them to get them to go see it?
That is a great question. If you like storytelling in any form, you need to see this movie. This movie tells stories, both intertwined little one-shots of backstories of characters that like are not throwaways, but they're not like reviewed later They're not like brought up
Oh
again.
yeah, they're these excerpts
These
almost.
are these
Little
excerpts
like
of these
vignettes.
characters. There we go. Like a character vignette that you learn, and it's very quick. And for me, Saul Williams as Sammy's father, as the preacher, as Jedediah, who's in the movie for 5 minutes, gives a stellar performance, and he alone is going to let you keep watching. But the structure of this film, the cultural representation of both Delta Mississippians, both Black and Chinese. If you love anything that has to do with film, you just need to see this movie. That's all I can really tell you. It's scored beautifully. It's shot. The cinematography is bar none. If this has to be nominated for something.
Many things.
And if it's not, I'm not watching. It's all racist.
Real. No, excellent. I would offer, just in a space of original IP, we haven't had as much original IP in movies recently. And I also am not the person who hates on sequels or reboots. I do like a refresh. But it is like amazing to watch something new and original that has some very clear influences and also like remixes and replays with tropes that we are familiar with.
Yes.
But it is a new experience. It is a great journey, and I truly think everybody should watch it.
If you like horror, one, this is a solid horror movie, but two, it also does homages to other horror movies. So check it out. It's beautiful. Pay however much Amazon is going to charge you for it.
And it is Scaredy Cat approved, I will say. as a Scaredy Cat, right? I can manage I worked my way through. The themes and the story stayed with me far more than the scares did. So yes, so I will say, as the certified Scaredy Cat, where Tyrone is the horror fan, like we both walked away with it, but it is Scaredy Cat approved. I also love taking a scarf or blanket of protection. I did use the blanket of protection, but enjoyed it. We'll watch again.
But in the theme of media that made us, we have one of my favorite segments, which is Press Play or Null. So it's time for Press Play or Null, where we give the reel on what we've been watching, reading, or playing. Is it binge-worthy or background noise, classic or cut it? Let's get into it. Courtney, what are you watching?
Something I just started. I have two things. So one is Department Q on Netflix.
I've seen the little bump.
It is kind of wild. Only 2 episodes in. I like it. It is set in Scotland. It's about a department in Scotland Yard that is focused on cold cases, and it ends up being on a particular cold case. But it is this, like, Matthew Good is a star. It's excellent work. So many great people are doing a lot of really good work on it. It is fascinating because the protagonist is not an anti-hero. He is just supremely unlikable. Is interesting because it's not like you're not rooting for him. You're not like, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it happens in the first 10 minutes. So I'm gonna call it, in that, like, he is shot. It fast forward a little bit to his first day back, and nobody cares. Like, he comes back to work and everybody is just like, oh, you're here. He got shot.
He said, oh, you're here.
Right. And everyone's like, oh, you're back, I guess. Like, do you know how unlikable you have to be for nobody to care on your first day back after you got shot? They don't like him. They don't like him.
Okay, I'm definitely watching that. That sounds hilarious.
Unlikable. And that was surprising to me. Like, he comes in and everybody's like, oh, I guess you're back here again. Why? And they're like, oh my God.
Is it a comedy?
It is not at all. No.
That makes that so much better.
It is not. It is definitely a drama. It's a mystery. There are some clearly funny moments. Like, it definitely holds the humor, but it's not funny. But really enjoyable. It's very good. And actually, in a similar but dissimilar space is Murderbot on Apple TV.
On Apple, that's the Alexander Skarsgård.
Yeah, that is fun. And I will say, I love Apple TV shows. There are a lot of things that I really enjoyed.
They are really good.
Apple TV shows are paced interestingly. I think They
like how you
move
put that.
they move slower, but they aren't slow. Like they're still interesting, but I could definitely see like there's a lot of space in their pieces that allows it to get its own unique rhythm. Like almost every Apple TV show I've watched, and I really enjoy Silo, and I saw C and Murderbot. Every show has its own pace, and so you feel like, oh, it gets its own rhythm and it feels different from other TV shows, particularly like network TV or even Netflix. And so Murderbot is definitely more comedy. I don't know if it's an outright comedy, and again, sometimes it's weird. They're definitely like genre defying.
I know it's based off a graphic novel, I think.
It is definitely funny, but it's not like sitcom funny.
Sitcom
it's not like comedy, you know. The premise on that one is Alexander Skarsgård plays Murderbot, who is a robot or a security bot who has overridden his security protocol. The thing that like he's had a moment, he overrode the security protocol, is now pretending to be a robot under control by the security protocol.
But actually is fully sentient.
And so he is having conversations. So he's a robot pretending to be a robot so that the humans don't notice. Because
yeah, I'm watching that. That looks good.
Because if they find out that he has overridden the protocol, they'll melt him down and he'll officially deceased. And so the humor is in him having to do things that he thinks are stupid because humans are stupid. But also knowing that because of the protocol means that he wouldn't question it. He can't question it, but he is questioning it. And he's like, but that's
dumb.
But that's dumb. Why are we doing that? But he has to do it because otherwise they'll find out that he can make decisions.
That's unfortunate for him.
So his thoughts are what's funny. There's a lot of voiceover.
Yes.
Right. And so he has these interactions and there's a voiceover. And it's funny, but the pacing is just weird where there's sometimes where he like takes a little too long to answer and then so just comes up with stuff and it's hilarious, but he's also still a robot, you know?
I love that. Okay, I'm gonna watch that. And that's also on Apple TV?
Also, yes. So Department Q is on Netflix and Murderbot is on Apple TV. What's something you just started?
I just started this anime called Sakamoto Days. And Sakamoto Days is very fun. It's on Netflix. I'm a little late to it. It's, I think, maybe been out since like January or something like that. But it's about this assassin who's the world's greatest assassin who falls in love, opens a grocery store in Tokyo with his wife and child. And he used to be really thin and now he's like very big. He is such a good assassin that the company that he worked for, the organization that he worked for, is like always going after him, and he's destroying everybody. But it's how annoyed he is with everybody that really keeps me coming back. And some have superpowers, some don't, but like it's a good, fun, ridiculous time. And what else? I don't know, man. I've been really deep in this SVU bag, so I haven't really been watching anything new. But me and Courtney have watched The Studio on Apple TV, which is hilarious. It's so good. Seth Rogen is a gem and treasure when it comes to television and writing in general. The meta commentary on the film industry is, and if you're a film nerd, you would absolutely love this show. It's so much tension. I am all the way just, my heart is in my chest the entire time or in my throat the entire time.
But it's hilarious. It is wild. It is outrageous while feeling grounded in real people's behaviors. I don't know if I'd call it realistic.
No, but it does have like realism. Like I
yeah, where you're just like, oh no, if you know all the worst people like ran a movie studio, this could be what happens. This could be how this goes. If we would just make the worst choices. But it's so great. It's a lot of fun. We're really enjoying it. I think we're like halfway through.
I don't know, but we're pretty deep in it, and it's every time it gets funnier. And it's also like it's homage to film in general. Like there are things where, you know, an episode will be like a theme on a type of filmmaking. It's really good. I really enjoy it. Okay, Court, what's something that you watched that you didn't think got enough love?
Dark Matter, also on Apple TV. Also Apple TV. If you wanna hit us with sponsorship, ain't nobody gonna be mad at you. But no, Dark Matter, which was based on a book, which I did not read the book, but I saw Dark Matter, and so I went into the show not knowing what to expect. It was one of my favorite experiences partially because I didn't know what to expect. So I'm not going to talk too specifically about it.
Gotcha.
But everybody should watch it because it's both it's a sci-fi piece that actually isn't about the sci-fi.
Interesting.
It really is about, there's just some deep human themes, and it's about like the cost of our choices, really. And yes, I don't want to say too much more about it. Listeners, if you watch it and you want to talk to me about it, email hustlingwithharges@gmail.com or find us on social media, and I'm happy to talk to anybody who's seen it about what it's about.
Because you finished it, right?
I did, yes. It is worth watching the whole thing. And if you think you know what's happening, if you haven't read the book, I'm sure if you've read the book, then you understand what's happening. But if you haven't read it and want to watch the show, again, you think you know what the story's about, and then you get toward the end and you realize it's about something else. It becomes fully relatable, and it I think if you're paying attention, it allows you to both see things about yourself and about the choices you make and about people around you differently.
All right. I'm going to have to check this movie out then, or this show out then.
How about you, Ty? What's something that you watched that didn't get enough love for you?
I think that Colin Farrell TV show that was on Apple TV, I cannot remember the name right now to save my life, but I don't need to because I have the interwebs. Sugar. Not enough people talked about Sugar for me. I think it's unfortunately for Sugar, Penguin came out and everybody talked about it. But I think Sugar is one of the most original television shows I've ever watched. I think it's insane how good it was, how, again, it's a thing that I can't tell you about. But also, if you want to talk about it, email us at hustlingwithharges@gmail.com. Or you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Hustling with Harges. And I will absolutely talk to you about this show. The show is so good. It is also an homage to film. Clearly, there's a pattern happening.
Right. For real.
But it's oh my God, it's so good and nobody talked about it.
People didn't talk enough about it, that's for sure. And it is one of those things that feels like it's in one genre and it turns out it's in a different genre, but you have to watch it to understand what it is. And so my recommendation, really, if you're looking to if you want to go on a journey, and there are two very different journeys, Dark Matter and Sugar, also both on Apple TV. They really are if you didn't watch either of those things because you were like, I don't know if this is my genre, right? If you're like, I don't really do vintage noir style mystery, or I don't really do broody man-based sci-fi, right? It's oh, this just looks like a broody dude feelings in the future. If you're like, I don't want to do those things, know that for both of these pieces, those are an entry into a much more compelling, complex story. It's been a decent media renaissance for years. I think there's been some really good content just out in the world. People are making some bold choices, and as much as there are definitely repeat IPs, there are definitely repeat stories and sequels and all of that, there's also some really interesting stuff out there that's getting supported, and I'm here for it.
You kind of have to look for it, not ridiculously hard.
I think, yes, I think you have to look for it. And I think there has to be a little bit of bravery of being willing to not like something. I think sometimes people are like, oh, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. It's like, well, that's part of the experience of watching, I think, new media, of understanding what you didn't like about it, of being able to talk about it. And it is a pet peeve of mine that oftentimes people complain that there's no new stuff out there. And it's like, but what outside of what you like are you watching? Right. And it's like, there is new stuff out there, and it might be in places that feel like old stuff. Right. It might be in places that you don't expect because you're like, oh, because I can't figure out what this is on the outside, then I'm not engaging with it. And it's like, that's partially why you're missing some new stuff.
If y'all don't know, Courtney is now 2 for 2 for dropping gems in episodes.
Doing my best.
Yeah, you got it. Sometimes it is it's old coded.
Right. Where you're because they want to sell it. And this is an issue I have with marketing. As somebody who was marketing theaters and marketing plays, it's hard to condense a story into a soundbite that people understand in ways that don't also give away some of the gems and the surprises that make the story worth telling.
I mean, back to Sinners for a second.
Real.
I love that the dance scene was not talked about. That scene was not discussed. It was not discussed in trailers. It was not discussed in people didn't post it on social media. It was preserved because people were like, okay, but this is very important and you need to experience this like this.
All right. Last press play or nah question is, what is something you're looking forward to? I can jump in while we think about it, but you mentioned it before, but yes, the Frankenstein. Also, shout out to Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder, because I can't actually say the name correctly the first time because my brain always wants to go, it's Frankenstein, and I'm like, no, that's not it. But as a result, my brain is forever broken, but that lives in my head. But yeah, I'm not a horror certified scaredy cat. But it looks good. Oscar Isaac, I have thoughts and feelings about Oscar Isaac, because not only is he pretty, and that's real, but as an actor, his just ability to create deep connection, like I just love his talent, and the fact that talent is so pretty is is concerning to me. And so, will I watch Frankenstein because he's in it? Absolutely, because it's just so good. I also watched the National Theater version with Johnny Lee Miller and Benedict Cumberbatch. Streaming
Benedict Cumberbatch, he was the monster. Yes, he was Frankenstein's monster.
They switched.
Love that.
So I watched the version where Johnny Lee Miller was the doctor and Benedict Cumberbatch was the monster. But one of the kind of gimmicks of that space was that they're recordings of both. They switched.
I love that. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, but it meant I just watching that got reinterested in, like, while I haven't read the book, I got reinterested in the theatrical version, and so I'm excited to see what happens in the movie version. And I'm also excited for Wake Up Dead Man, the Knives Out movie. I like a mystery. I love a mystery. I love Benoit Blanc and his foghorn leghorn ass. I love the character. I loved the very first one. I liked the second one. Janelle Monáe killed it.
Yes. So dumb. It's so dumb. It's perfect. No, it's just dumb.
Absolutely. So very much looking forward to those. And I'm sure a few others, but those are the ones I want to show right now.
Fantastic. I am also very excited for this Guillermo del Toro directed Frankenstein. It's going to be so weird, and really, the creature design is going to be awesome. I am also excited for Wednesday season 2. I liked the first Wednesday.
Me too.
And I was like, yes, I'll take 100 of these, please. I am also excited for One Piece season 2, the live action One Piece. As a person who's never really watched the anime like that, I know. Blasphemy. People don't like that about me. But there's so many episodes, y'all. It's like 2,000 episodes.
Many much.
But I am also excited for the Old Guard 2.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Because
put me in, coach. Yes, ready. I want it.
Because Uma Thurman, full stop. Okay, that Uma Thurman versus Charlize Theron, Aeon Flux versus The Bride. What are you gonna do about this?
Or the Evil Queen versus the Bride.
Ooh. People sleep on that Snow White movie, and I really enjoy
Furiosa versus the Bride.
Oh, Furiosa. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's so good. Just the giant Amazonian fight.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
I need this to also be the start of the talk about the female-led Expendables movie.
That is it. I feel like there's so many Expendables movies now. I loved the first 2. I don't know if I saw the last 2. I want them to keep making them. Regardless of whether or not I've seen them, I want them to keep making them. Do want Lady Expendables.
Yeah. The Expendables, if you will.
The Expendables. Nice. Trademark. No.
Bad bending.
Give me Sigourney. Give me Linda Hamilton. Give me Charlize. Give me Uma. Give all the Charlie's Angels. I'll take both sets. Doesn't matter.
Yes, both sets.
Right. Give me Linda Carter. Give me, like, if you are a woman who was thrown a punch on film in the last 20 to 25 years,
we got this movie for you.
I want there to be Lady Expendables. I want that to happen. Just, yes, I want, I'm too old for this shit, said by some lady. I want that a lot.
Oh, that means also Viola Davis is going to be in it.
Yes, give me Viola. Give me Lucy Lawless. Give me Jennifer Garner. It's Electra, alias whatever. Can we get Elijah Dushku back? Dollhouse, right?
Yes.
Give me a Sarah Michelle Gellar. No, I'm serious. having that movie with a bunch of female action stars and or, heroes would be amazing. I wanted to be set in some type of Fast and Furious reality
Where physics doesn't really matter.
where the rule of cool is what's up.
Is it cool? Then it works in the
Then it
laws of
works.
physics.
We figure out the math later. So I want an all lady action film governed by the rule of cool, featuring again any woman who has thrown a punch or held a gun anytime in the last, I will say, 45 years. If they can show up, they can do it. I do not care.
45 years. Fantastic. Yeah, and you can give me 100 of those movies and we'll be
I'll
fine.
take them. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
So our next segment is our segment. It's going to show up in every episode. Work hard, play hard. Because building a creative life takes both focus and fun. And so this is where we talk about a creative issue with both its work focus, its play focus. And so today's focus is inspiration. So just in general, Ty, how do you stay inspired?
I stay inspired by the people around me. The people around me inspire me so much to try and to develop new and interesting things based on their experiences, whether or not that's my experience. I just love coming up with new stuff, having people around me to be like, oh, I went skydiving last summer in Bali. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. What is that like? And now that's inspiring me to write something or to, have an idea of some sort based off that. But also media inspires me so much, specifically animation and anime is and video games are my go-to inspiration for things. Yeah, I just love consuming things.
My inspiration, I say inspired frequently by doing, actually. Sometimes just starting to write or, while Tyrone is the designer, there's a running joke that I'm the frustrated designer because I love to create brands.
Yes.
And create branding and concepts. And I'm like, okay, what do I want this to be? What is the story I want of the idea? And sometimes it's not just the idea itself, but how do I communicate the idea to somebody else?
Yeah.
And so I get inspired also by witnessing media. Again, we watch a lot of things. We go see a lot of things. And this question was inspired by the fact that Sinners inspired us both to want to do some more things. But I really stay inspired by doing, just moving my hands. That's why I enjoy knitting and sewing. I start making things that way. And when I'm in the doing, the inspiration comes, which I really like. I enjoy. Sometimes it's this is going to be garbage. I don't know if I like it, but just the act of doing it allows me to then want to fix it and improve it or try it again. And that gives me more motivation and inspiration to keep going.
Is it going to be crap?
Yeah, it might be, but I can fix it. Right. And especially if nobody's waiting for it, it's just me doing something helps me want to then do more things.
How does being inspired keep you motivated?
That's great. Yeah. Sometimes it's just writing something down. If I'm feeling excited, sometimes it's just putting an idea to paper or just generating things. I'm somebody who very much likes to just start an idea. And we talked about this last episode, who starts and then finishes some stuff. But sometimes it is just taking the idea as far as my inspiration goes. And then if I'm done with it, putting it down. I may come back, but I have a few different files or whatever that are half thought out ideas or just what if we did this? And you just run it until you're okay, that inspiration's out a little bit, but I've documented it. It's right there. And I can come back to it if I want to pick it up, but just honoring it. I think realizing, oh, I'm inspired. I have some ideas. Maybe we can do this. And then running with it for a little bit allows more inspiration to show up.
Yeah. It's like organic inspiration, like feeding off of it.
Yes. And I think because when I have some, I write it down and try to work through it or engage with it, even if it isn't writing down, it's sketching or just something, just try to pull it out into the world in some way. I also know there will be more and they aren't all immediately actionable. But it's nice to just play around with it until it's oh, okay. I don't know how this next place will go. I don't know what to do. So it'll stop, but then I have the beginning of it. And then when I come back, I can come back to it.
I definitely also feel the same way about how motivation inspires me. Yeah, the idea of okay, I'm just gonna write, I might write a quick outline of something. And I'm okay, I'll come back to this, or I'm like, oh, this, in writing this has sparked something else. So now I'm like writing this, and now I've written like a full treatment for that. And so like I love that sometimes your inspiration can be inspiration for something else.
Yeah. It's not always like what's right in front of you. It's like, let
Yeah.
me just take this inspiration. All right, I'm going to go off on this aside, and then I'll be able to come back to it, and it'll free out some space to like do the thing that you're working on. How do you, in the Play Harge section, how do you create inspiration to keep the work fun?
That's a really awesome question. Sometimes I make things I know I'm not going to make. Like, if that makes sense.
It does, actually.
I'll have like a full project and be like, great, this is never happening. This was just to get like, it's like a warm up. And like, if something comes of it, that's different. But like a lot of the times it's just like a writing exercise or like a creative practice that I want to just like, work my brain out. But a lot of it is just like, this is just fun. What we do is fun. And we're not saving lives, which is like, a thing that I also have to tell myself a lot, where I'm like, this is not actual heart surgery. Like,
Thank God it's not.
Thank God it's not. I got shaky hands. So, but like, it's also like, you're allowed to have fun when you're creating something. And I think a lot of people are like, but it's got to be perfect. And I'm like, it's just got to be done.
It's just got to be done. You can work on perfect time editing. Other people's insights will like inform perfection, if that's even the goal. But sometimes it's just doing a thing.
I watched this interview with Jazzy Jeff, and he was talking about how artists need to die empty. He's like, just get it all out there. Just put it all out. And then he was like, and you'll be fine. Like, you'll be fine.
That's wild. I appreciate that as a frame. I like to generate inspiration in fun, and this is going to sound very specific to my type A brain, in that I like to solve problems or create some type of limitation to see how I would do this with a limitation. So, for example, like I work from home, which I enjoy, but I also sew. And so one of the things I did was like, okay, if I had a corporate and office job, what is the wardrobe I would sew?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, and I have this like running plan of like a corporate capsule wardrobe for a job I don't have. I do have a job.
Yes, but
for the type of job I don't have, in the conditions that aren't really mine. But it was generatively like, okay, if I had to go in office 5 days a week, what is the wardrobe I would want to make, right? And so that gives me like a thing to sketch, and it is a problem to solve, but it creates like just creativity where I get excited about, oh, what can I make my business cape? Like, what if I made a suit?
Yes.
Like, right? All of these things I have patterns and ideas for, but I do like the creative problem solving of like, okay, what would those conditions be? Like even watching the Met Gala, which was so much fun.
So much fun.
Watching unexpectedly, just watching that whole blue carpet was great. But I was like, oh, I like some of these cuts. Like, how would I make this a thing that I could wear just regularly? Is there a casual version of this? Is there like, what could I do? And so I like to keep it fun by solving problems that aren't necessarily immediate actual problems.
Or that's a really cool take on that.
Yeah, creating some of these challenges where it's like, okay, how would I do this with some type of limitation or some type of resource without the pressure of having to deliver it?
I appreciate the creative P90X you're doing.
Right. Or sometimes just like, I want to try this. How could I do it this way? What would work? That keeps me going, and it keeps it fun because it's like, also, who knows, if I get the 7-figure job, when we start taking brand deal meetings around this, I'm going to be in my custom suit because I've already figured out what I want that suit to look like.
We're going to be in that custom suit because Courtney doesn't know that she's also going to make mine.
I'm sorry, your mic went out. What was that?
No, that's a really great way of putting it, of like creating little problems that aren't problems, but like problems that you can solve in your own creative fashion.
Right.
No pun intended.
Nice. All right, folks, we are transitioning to our end. And we have just, 2 more things to offer you.
Yes.
But we want to offer our sibling shout out. So Tyrone, which siblings do you want to shout out this week?
The Smokestack twins. I want to shout out Elijah and Elias Moore for being being one of my favorite on-screen siblings, and 2 siblings that also genuinely enjoy each other. Like there was bickering, yes, but there was no like animosity towards each other. There was no resentfulness, even when shit hit the fan. There was still real mad love between them, and I love that.
Absolutely. Excellent choice. And so inspired by that, picking literally polar opposite twins, I'm actually to go. My sibling shout out is also fictional, and it is Phil and Lil DeVille
Absolutely.
from Rugrats.
From the Rugrats.
Because you want to talk about another set of twins who were there for each other.
Ride or die. Okay. Ride or die.
Phil and Lil from Rugrats were both co-conspirators. Also, they bickered, but you can't say anything about my sibling. You can't. No, that's my guy, or that's my girl over there, right? And while they will hit each other with the full first names, Philip,
Lillian. Oh my gosh. I love that they would switch the bow too. Fantastic. God, they're so silly.
Yes. Our sibling shout out is Phil and Lil DeVille for me.
And the Smokestack twins.
Absolutely. And we are forever waiting for our dynamic duo of dynamic duos, Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad, and or Willow and Jaden Smith.
Yes.
And so this is day 2.
Day 2
of waiting for one or both of our dynamic duo of dynamic duo hosts to appear on Hustling with Harges.
Well, thank you all for listening. As always, please follow, subscribe, and share with everybody, especially your creative friends. Tune in next. Everyone, your grandma, her grandma,
right? Your friends,
right?
Your secret vampire twin.
Yes. Your siblings, your blood siblings, fake siblings, however you feel about it. Anybody you've called bro or sis in the last decade.
Right. We love a play cousin.
We love a play cousin. We live by play cousins.
Right.
Tune in next week to our episode where we'll be talking about creating in chaos and whatever moves us. If you have ideas, email us at hustlingwithharges@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram at hustlingwithharges. Hustling with Harges.
Hustling with Harges.
That's Hustling with Harges. And you can find us on where most podcasts are on. So we're on Spotify and Apple One and iHeartRadio.
And Podbean.
Oh, and Podbean. Shout out to you, Podbean.
Shout out to you, Podbean.
Courtney, any words of wisdom to send us off?
No pressure. Be careful who you invite into your house.
Absolutely.
You want to know my words of wisdom? Like,
be careful.
Ask some questions.
I love this.
Because if that is the lesson, be careful
who you invite into your house.
Be generous and discerning.
Ooh, we love it.
All right, y'all. Bye.
Bye.